can't even figure out like ourselves, you know. And I think the thing to unify is like to figure out where we came from, to figure out like how did the Japanese get here, how did the Chinese get here, what laws were passed so that that Chinatowns had to be formed. You know, how were these places? How were the businesses being taken away from the Japanese people during World War II? How,
sort of history,
you know, you have to learn about your history to know where you need to go. And I think that's something that Asians and
I just think a lot of Asian Americans, when they learn history, they know like the generic American history, and you know there's Black History Month, so they know more about Black history than their own history.
Yeah, it's what's taught in schools.
Yeah, I've never even learned Asian history unless you minor in Asian American studies. Who does that? But you know, so there's really nothing out there. There's no TV. There's nothing out there.
Well, no, because for so long, Asians in America have been seen as the model minority, which is a bullshit term. You know, it has been used for Asians, and against Black people. Like, it was like, why can't you be like these Asians who are in school and have gotten degrees and don't have any criminal record? You know, and so then it was dividing the Asian, Latino, and Black community from one another by the myth. And it's a myth because a lot of Asians are not doctors and blah, blah, blah. A lot of Asians are living in poverty, are struggling to make
especially a huge wage gap between those who are doctors and those who aren't.
Exactly. Really so there hasn't been that desire for history, because I remember growing up and people were like, well, you know what, you're Asian, so it's fine, you don't have to worry about it. I didn't actually question or want to know about my Asian history, because all I wanted to be as a kid was white. Because they were like, oh, you're so cool, look, you blend in with the white kids.
Yeah,
you know?
When you're a teenager, that's impressionable.
Yeah, it's very impressionable, and you're taught to hate your culture. And look at us now, fucking New York City. Everyone wants to eat ramen. Everyone wants to eat pho. Everyone wants to go and have sushi and Korean barbecue and all that bullshit. And it's like,
but yet nobody cares what Asian American problems. They just like our food.
Then I think like one of the biggest powers that we have is educating people through food. And people like David Chang, he just like released this thing on Netflix, this Ugly Delicious thing, and it's like his thesis is like, can food change people's minds? Can food do something to help society? And I think yes, because for cultures that have been systematically oppressed, we have really clung to our food, the food of our ancestors. We've really clung to that. And now more than ever, it's becoming like this thing that people want to go out and try and enjoy without worries without any of the attachments, the political, societal attachments. And I think what we need to do, what restaurateurs who own Asian restaurants need to do is like, our food is this, but also this is where it came from. Why do we eat rice? Why do we have, what is it with dumplings? What is it? Why do we have that? You know, because when you were poor, you had to have something that was easy to eat, that can be on the go, and you take it, and it was fast, it was carbs, it was meat, protein, you know, things like that. It's like, we know so much about pasta, but why don't we know enough about where, why don't we know about that? About like, I am only beginning to maybe get near what Chinese cuisine is. Like, I didn't know what Szechuan was until like, God, I still don't know what Szechuan is besides like peppercorn, you know? And it's something that like, I have to acknowledge my own ignorance of Asian, the big word Asia, because Asia's huge culture, whatever that is. And I think something that we as Asians need to do is like really acknowledge our ignorance to it.
That is, I'm trying to process the whole food idea. The biggest problem sometimes with food is like, it's not like music, because like music it's more easier to blend something in there. Food, like you said, it's more, you'd have to explain where rice comes from, and
Yeah, people
you'd
don't.
have to ask every waiter in the world to do that.
I don't love the. Or
Well,
just
no, but it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like what's happening right now. Like, I am a big binge watcher of food shows
Okay.
on Netflix,
Okay.
and I'm not the only person.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and people are becoming.
So that shows what ties it in.
Yeah,
the food
it shows that it is important, and it is important that, like, for example, you go on Yelp, and you go to any Asian restaurant, and there are always shit reviews written by white people that have no idea what this type of cuisine is.
It doesn't taste like.
It doesn't taste
Express.
like what they're used to. It doesn't taste like what it is. And oh my god, it's so expensive. Like for example, Vietnamese food has been considered cheap. Like you go to Chinatown on Grand Street and you get a bowl of pho for like what, $10?
Mm-hmm.
You know, people, and yet no one understands how much work goes into the broth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it has to be simmered for at least 12 hours. There are like 5 different like spices that you have to put in it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to constantly watch it.
Yeah,
You
it's
know?
not just soup.
How is that any different from the bolognese of an Italian restaurant that sells for like $20? Nothing. But it's just the PR.
Yeah, exactly. I was exactly gonna say that. I was like, Asians are terrible at PR because I think most of our culture is about being humble. You know, a lot of it's just like, hey, I'm gonna serve you, and you'll figure it out. And it's not upfront. And then they're like, oh, they'll figure it out, and you know, they'll read our minds. But most people are, I think especially in the Western part of the world, everything's direct. And if you're not direct,
they're not gonna read your mind.
That's why I'm really excited, like that, like the whole Momofuku chain is just charging these exorbitant prices to like eat things that we grew up eating. You know, it's like, you know, it helps. It helps because it brings your culture. It heightens people's respect of your culture if they're willing to pay more money for the food.
It's not just Chinese takeout and a fortune cookie.
Yeah, your comfort food has a price to them.
Yeah.
And oh my god, it's also delicious. Then they want to know more about you. Then your worth goes up in a way.